Hi, and welcome back to day 2 of the Tamarack Jacket Sew Along. In our previous video, we gave you an overview of the sew along, talked about the tamarack, gave you tips for choosing your fabric and batting, and also ran through the list of supplies you'll need to create your own quilted jacket. Today, we're going to be discussing how to print and assemble your pattern. If you've used PDF patterns before, this will be familiar to you. For those of you out there who have not worked with a downloadable PDF pattern before, I'll walk you step by step through the process that I personally use to assemble mine. It can seem difficult the first time you do it, but it's truly an easy and painless process. If you've purchased a printed copy of the pattern, today is a free day for you, so go pre-wash your fabric and then call it a day. To start, you're going to need to download the pattern. You can find the link to purchase the PDF pattern in the description below. Once you've made your purchase, you'll receive an email containing the links to download your pattern. Click the links in the email to download your pattern. Keep in mind that the patterns will download to wherever your computer is set to save downloads to. In most cases, this is a folder called Downloads, but if you changed it at any point, that's where it will be saving to. If your pattern opens in a browser window, this is considered a download because your computer is downloading it and the target destination setting is your browser window. We don't recommend printing from this page as it can be difficult to get the pattern to print without scaling turned on. Instead, in the upper right-hand corner, click the Download button and save the pattern to your computer. From there, you'll want to open it in Adobe Acrobat Reader, which can be downloaded free on their site. Over the years, we found Acrobat is the most foolproof way to print patterns at the correct scale, so I highly recommend using it. Once you've opened the pattern in Acrobat, go to File, Print, and the Print dialog box will open. Under Page Sizing and Handling, select Actual Size. This will ensure you're getting the pattern at the correct scale. The pattern is laid out to print on both US letter and A4 paper. We recommend printing just the first page to start to check that you do have everything printing at the correct scale. On the first page is a square that, when printed correctly, should measure 3 inches by 3 inches, or if you're metric, 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. If you've got that correct, all you have to do is make sure you've got enough paper in your printer and press print. That's all there is to it. There are a lot of tutorials and methods out there for assembling your print-at-home PDF patterns, but I'm going to show you how I assemble mine here today. If you have a method that works for you, feel free to ignore this section. I know a lot of you are coming from quilting and you're new to PDF garment patterns, so I wanted to make sure we covered this in our sew along. I like to start by grabbing a small cutting mat and an X-Acto knife. I use a different cutting mat than my rotary for this because this paper cutting mat is a bit thicker than my rotary one, and I don't want to destroy my rotary mat with an X-Acto knife. I also like to use a metal ruler because the X-Acto knife can cut thinner plastic rulers. You'll then be left with a ruler that doesn't have a completely straight edge, and that's not a lot of use to anyone. You can use scissors to cut off the edges, but I find the knife a bit quicker. It's just all up to personal preference and what you have laying around your house. My first step when assembling my PDF pattern is to locate the first row of pages. So if you printed the printing instructions that came with your download, you'll find this little key that shows you exactly which pages go where. So you can see pages 1 through 6 are the first row. 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll set that aside. And now the first page you don't need to trim anything off of because you're going to be taping to it. So I set that aside and I'll be taping to the right side here. So I'm going to trim off the left side of my first row. So I do this all at once with a sharp blade. Make sure everything's in a neat stack. Align your ruler. And then just trim. And rather than pressing super hard, I just do a few cuts to get through all the pages, because as soon as I start pressing super hard, that's when I cut myself. All right, so that is our first row. So I'm going to set my cutting utensils aside for now. Definitely cap your X-Acto knife. And then we're going to start aligning our pages. Now, I like to start by just taping the very center, and you'll see why in a minute. When you're cutting, you're going to try to be as exact as possible, but we're all human. So if things are a tiny bit off, and they will be because, again, we're human, don't sweat it. It's not a big deal. A 32nd or a 16th here or there is not going to make or break your jacket, I promise. So here we're just working across this pattern piece. And you can see here we have piece 2, which is the back, and then the pocket. I'm demoing on the 0 to 18, by the way. So this is a separate pattern piece than the jacket. So let me grab my scissors. What I like to do is separate that pattern piece from the back. I find it easier if I'm only working on one pattern piece at a time. And along with the accuracy thing, a 1/16 of an inch over, you know, what, 10 pages is one thing, but it'll get multiplied over 25 if you're assembling the thing as a whole. Also, I don't know anyone who just has a big enough table to be assembling patterns in one piece. It's my job, and I still don't fit one. If you do, reach out and tell us what your table is, because we all need one. All right, so this is the full piece 6. So I'm just going to tape across the top and the bottom, and then you can set this aside. Now we need to grab our pages and locate our second row, which is 7 through 12. So for this, you can see in order to tape these pages to the top row, we do need to cut off the tops of all of the pages. So I'll do that first. Grab your mat again. Stack everything nice and neat. Almost there. I probably need a new blade in this. And now we don't need to cut off the right side again of the first page. So I'm going to remove that. Okay, so now we need to cut off the left side of the rest of the row. So just make sure everything is still aligned. Align your ruler. And there we go. Okay, so starting with the first piece of the row, I'm going to align it, and again, just tape in the center. And now here you can see we're starting to have two pattern pieces encroaching on our piece 2. We have the sleeve and the template for your snaps. So for the second page, align, tape in the center, and here you can see it's a tiny bit off at the bottom, so you can just scoot it together. And this is easy because we're only taping in the center right now. And then tape. I'm going to trim off these pages, or these pattern pieces. And I will tape them together right now. That way they don't get lost or put in my pile of cut scraps or anything like that. So then again, page 9, we'll cut in half. Align. And tape. We'll tape the second half. And then page 10, here we have piece 2, piece 5, and this is the sleeve, which is piece 3. So first I'll just cut off this little piece so I don't lose it. Tape that onto the sleeve. Sometimes I find the little pieces more fiddly to line up, but it works better than having all these things attached. Cut off piece 5. Align and tape. And then on page 11, we have the final corner of piece 2. So we'll just align that. Then we have the rest of piece 5. And that one is complete, so I'm just going to, again, tape across the cut line. You'll find it much easier to cut out if you do that. And then our final pages of the row, 11 and 12, start piece 1 of the front. So we'll just align those. So what you're going to do is just work across all of the rows in the same fashion until all your pieces are assembled. Once they're assembled, I highly recommend taking a piece of tape and taping down the corners where all 4 pages meet. I already got those too. Then tape across the cut lines. Your pattern will stay together better while cutting and using if you do this. And I know maybe before you've started making a quilted jacket, you're thinking, oh, I'll never make 2 of these. It's going to be so involved. But all my friends have made more than one, and I own about 5 that are actually mine. And you don't even want to know how many we have as a company. Probably like 15 or 20. So it is a really fun pattern, and once you've made it and see how easy it is, it's fun to just really dive in with different fabric combinations, piecing, stuff like that. So having a sturdy pattern will ensure that you don't have to do this step again. So that is it for today's lesson. In our next video, I'll be walking you through the process of cutting and marking your fabric and batting. So get your pattern assembled, and I'll see you back here for that. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and we'll get back to you ASAP. And make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you don't miss any of our video updates. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.